Welcome to Your Coach, Your Money, where we aim to educate and motivate our young athletes to be financially fit and financially motivated to keep learning every day. We're here with my partner, Mark Esslie.
Welcome
back, Mark. Mark was
Yes.
on a little bit of a road trip for the last couple days. God bless his soul. He's one of the best guys out there. An amazing son. And we're with Phil Bazicki, business owner, Clever Combat, former Colony great. Colony wrestler, the Merkle, the man of the wrong leg in. Phil Bazicki is here with us.
This is exciting.
So
anytime we can talk combat
sports, and then you start talking wrestling.
thing.
Essie's actually quite proficient in striking to the throat and striking to the back of the head. And I'm not going to go there, buyers. We're not going to talk about that. That's after hours, right? We're not pulling a P Diddy on this show, man. Okay. But no. So in the world of wrestling, you can do. So it's called a crossbody ride, where you put a near leg in and you ride the guy. Well, Phil's move back in the day was a wrong leg in. And he would always get into this wrong leg in. And if you're a wrestler, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you're not a wrestler, you're like, what the hell is he talking about, right? Yep. So look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. But Phil would be in this really weird, like, side body. And then, like, the guy would end up on his back. It's called the Merkle, right? If you've never wrestled before. But
not to be confused with Andrea Merkle.
This is a great space if you're a wrestler. If you're not, you're like, dude, stop talking about it. Phil, I want you to give us a little background on yourself, how you created your business, and some of the things you do in the community to help kids and young adults, amateur fighters, get ready to do their thing.
Sweet. So this gym started, I was looking for a place to train. I wrestled for a while, and after wrestling, I focused on school rather than wrestling in college, and I just wanted something to kind of continue wrestling after college. I started looking for gyms. I was traveling around, bouncing to some local Jiu Jitsu gyms, and I ran into I had a friend who I ran into a mutual friend. Okay. I was working for a mutual friend of me and my current partner, Bill Schwartz.
Okay.
And at the time, he was looking for someone like me to team up with and start his own gym. He's been training for about 20 years now, and he was looking to go off on his own. And we had very similar ideologies on what we were looking for.
Gotcha.
And moving forward. So we started the gym, Clever Combat. It was mainly jiu-jitsu when we started, and over time we've added a striking program, and now we've added our wrestling program.
Yeah. And how many kids you got going there right now?
So right now we have about 20 solid kids signed up, and we have about a group of 10 kids that are bouncing around cross-training, something that Bill and I, a big one of our philosophies was promoting cross-training between gyms. So sometimes what happens is when you train at just one spot with the same people over time, you get used to what they're doing. You kind of fall into a routine. We wanted to promote cross-training so everybody in the area kind of improves the level of jiu-jitsu, grappling as a whole, MMA. So the whole concept of mixed martial arts is being able to kind of change up on the fly, and rather than just sticking to one specific thing that you've been working inside of your gym.
Maybe explain that for a second, right? Because I'm just picturing a lot of our listeners are hearing the word gym, right?
Yes.
And they may be out of shape. They may be older. They may be picturing a typical Planet Fitness gym versus a gym that we're talking about, because it's drastically different.
Yeah.
But also they may have the misconception that it's constant striking. It's physically
I can't
impactful.
do it. I'm out of shape.
Versus per se the stretching end. If you're going into katas or things like that more people can do. Maybe explain that a little bit so our listeners can understand that.
That's right. I get caught up in my own thoughts sometimes. You're right. So gym, I say gym a lot. It's really a martial arts facility. So we've made a space that anybody can come in, whether they're a complete beginner. Any age group can walk in, or complete somebody like L, who has already been a great wrestler, who is already very athletic and is looking to take a step to a higher level. So,
former Your Coach, Your Money special guest El Shaddai.
That's right. I actually just watched the podcast when he rewatched it from when he was in here before. Yeah, so the facility part is we have classes literally for anybody, any age. A cool thing about jiu-jitsu is you don't have to be physically adept or very athletic gifted to be able to start jiu-jitsu. You can come in. It's a much slower pace than wrestling.
Sure.
And so you can kind of just learn the technique, learn the art, and be able to get your physical training as well as your mental training all in one spot. And we have a broad range of people training. So somebody that maybe has never done something like this, that's not as athletic, will have people that like similar type people that they
right, their level. They may not be able to do a front flip or
Exactly.
or a back flip, but they can learn the. I can't do a front flip, Mark.
I wasn't thinking that.
They can learn the basics of what's an Americana and
Yep.
how do I pull guard, how do I pass guard,
Exactly.
right?
Chokes, like
Gotcha.
if someone's coming up to attack you or grab onto you, just simple things that you can evade them, stay safe, stuff like that. But then we also have elite training, elite guys training who
Right.
we have a bunch of former wrestlers who are section champs or state place finishers that are in training to become fighters. A big part of that is we don't push people to compete. So we want first anybody to be able to train, but also to train at their own level. So there are a lot of people that want to come compete, and we have specific classes for that. We have weights in our building, so people can come in and kind of get their own workout in during classes, or they can supplement to their training
Sure.
with weights or the bags or anything like that. We don't try to direct anybody to anything specific. We kind of allow them some time to try out all of the classes and figure out where they're going to fit in, as opposed to telling them you have to do this and train with specific people.
I mean, one of the reasons I wanted Phil to talk is that if you see some of the UFC fighters today, right, they started at a gym like Phil's, right? And there's, American Top Team, and then, I could probably name 20 of them, right, that they started and they're just amateurs, and it's a small home space, and nobody knows the wiser, and all of a sudden, these guys are fighting in front of hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, and it's not always about the fighting, right? I mean, it's the
competing.
it's the mental part of it,
Yeah.
right? And you are really physically exhausted when you go through a martial arts round, whether it's
tiring.
stretching, or whether it's resistance training, whether it's slow motion sparring, whatever it might be. You can be physically exhausted literally within a half an hour, 45-minute session. Come out sweating. People think, oh, I need to go to the gym, run on the treadmill for an hour, get the bench, get whatever, which helps, but it's a different type of training.
It is.
Great point.
The mental piece, and I think you're adding to it, right? When Elle came in, when he talked on our previous show, was not only is it physically exhausting, but then especially if you're competing, now it's emotionally and mentally draining. Where am I having dinner when I'm going somewhere, right? Because I'm guessing you have a lot of fighters that roll in from out of town.
Yep.
Where am I staying? What am I eating? How am I going to pay for it, right? And I know NIL has become a big thing, right? Name, image, likeness has become a major territory, especially for UFC, especially for women's basketball, right? I mean, you got Caitlin Clark. Her NIL value is almost $4 million right now, right? $4 million
That's awesome. Wow.
of her name value, right? And that is going to continue to spread, right? And that's where I want to make sure we're educating young athletes so that when you do get that next up and coming star, which you very might will already have,
Right.
what's going to happen when they get that contract,
Right.
right?
Yep.
What happens? They don't know. Okay, sure, I'm going to sign it, right? Oh, did you sign the right contract? Did you do the right thing?
That's right.
So the financial literacy, and the reason why Mark and I wanted to do this show and have guys like you talk is that you, just like back in the day when I was coaching, I supervised and helped you. You now have 100+ kids and college athletes that are under your umbrella.
That's right.
Well, and I think it's a little unique to your facility, just noticing from the website, is that there's fundraising opportunities that people can support.
Oh, yeah.
Fighters can support that activity. You want to speak a little bit maybe to that?
How does that
work? Because that's not common.
Yep.
Right.
So I just want to hit on one more thing. So the mental aspect, something that's overlooked on the mental part of training is it's not all about being super physical, right? And so I was training somebody. He's I want to say mid-50s. He's never done anything like this, and he wanted to just get in and see what it was like. And so I started doing work with him, and he's a businessman. He's up at 5 a.m. every day. He's ready to go all day long. And so he's constantly talking to people, having meetings, and he's constantly busy. when he was coming in training with me, every single time you could see like the weight lifted off his shoulders.
Right.
One time he looked at his phone and was like, "Oh man, I totally forgot I was even in here." Like the outside world is
Just
like
blurs away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's a huge part of getting people in and just showing them that it isn't just physical and trying to fight and beat people up. It's really like building yourself as a person inside the gym, but also that's going to carry over to like everything else you do outside of the gym. So going off of that, we like that's part of our training is showing kids that what you're doing in here isn't just doing it for the specific sport you're training for.
Right.
It's going to help you further yourself in life, right?
Sharpening your tactical skills to live, right?
Exactly.
You know?
Yep. And so going off of that, we're trying to show first off the kids that are training with us, but also the young adults that are moving out, changing their life is changing from being dependent. Now they're being more independent. They have to rely on themselves to carry themselves through life. And so we're trying to set up a framework in their training, but also that's going to carry over to help better themselves moving forward with whatever endeavor they move into. The fundraising part, I wanted to train a lot. Elijah and a few of the other kids that I trained with used to fundraise ourselves. We'd carry around buckets of candy, selling them. Water bottles. We'd sell
Coach, I need you to buy some candy. 100 candy bars later.
Yes.
Biggest supporter.
Seriously.
Yep. And
still got some in the basement, I think.
And so that's a part we're trying to carry that forward. But instead of having kids go out and just try to figure this out, we're trying to set up a framework for them to. This is how you're going to fundraise. This is what you can do, and these are the demographics that we're going to look at, trying to educate them on what we're doing, show them how we're educating the kids, and show like benefiting their lives outside of the gym as well.
Well, that's where I wanted to make sure we talked the NIL side, Phil. It becomes realistic when somebody gets a following like L. Like there's no reason why, and I talked to L about this, and I'll talk to him again, that he shouldn't be already networking in with local businesses where they're sponsoring him, and they're putting him on a commercial or on the front page because he's a well-known guy.
Exactly.
and he carries himself well. And I feel like the character that you're talking about that we are trying to establish with people is so important. It's almost
really
more
is.
important than how well you perform.
The L talks about that so much.
Character, right? Like how you act in public, and the something that people that resonates with them, right?
Yep.
So we've had a lot of success, Mark and I at least. We've talked to a couple baseball teams, we've talked to a couple football teams where we will do a financial literacy presentation. So if you do have a grouping of kids, especially high school kids, because I feel like the one thing they're missing is financial literacy.
Definitely.
How do I balance a checkbook? What are taxes?
There's no checkbook for kids anymore. So
why do I not buy crypto?
how's my
right?
app work? That's what it is. It's how my app works.
How does my app work, right? So I say these things because as you're talking, your young listeners that follow you right now are going to listen and hear what you're doing and know that physical fitness and mental fitness and financial fitness, they all kind of fit under this umbrella.
They really do.
Right?
Yep.
The cool thing, I wanted to talk about what you said about the gentleman that works with you, the businessman. There's an author out there, his name is Krzyzewski, and he talks about flow state.
Yep.
Right? And flow state's a very cool, and he actually talks about it with runners and cyclists, but it can be carried over into other disciplines like wrestling and like jiu-jitsu and fighting. And you get into this mindset where you're just going to let it roll and you're not going to stress about the outside world. And it's a really cool mindset. It actually helps, it helps you get you where you need to be emotionally, at least, to perform.
Definitely.
So
Yeah, and sports give you a break. They give you a mental break where
man.
if you're in it, it's the only thing you're focusing on, and you're not focused on
man,
what's happening at the office, what's happening at the house, what's happening with the kids.
And then afterward, you kind of feel that any stresses that you had have a lesser impact on you moving forward. So now you're able to deal with a little bit more. You're able to keep a clearer mind and navigate things a little better than you would just going into it not having that bit of relief.
So talk to our listeners a little bit about your process. How would I sign up? Where are you located? How would I sign up? And what are the expectations when I sign up? Talk a little bit about that.
All right. So another thing Bill and I had was we didn't want to lock people into contracts.
Smart.
It's almost like telling people they have to train, and then that adds a little bit more stress. People are worried about the payment and all of that stuff. So we didn't want that to be an issue. We wanted people to just be able to come in and train. And we don't want to force people or feel like they have to contribute to us or be part of our team. And so we're very open with getting people in. If anyone wants to train, we just have them come in, try out a couple of classes, make sure it'll fit their schedule, and make sure it's something they want to do.
Where are you
with
located?
The coaches.
Yeah, where's your gym?
So we're right in Colony, or Latham. We're right on like the border of Colony, Latham.
Oh, okay.
It's Old Maxwell Road, 239 Old Maxwell Road, behind the Times Union Paper Building or the Colony Library. We're right behind them. Nice. We're actually on Landscape Inc.'s property. We're using one of their buildings. They've been very accommodating to us. We think it's a great spot right off the Northway. It's a great spot for the whole capital region. That's another reason we're promoting good cross training, because we're in the center and there are people that travel from all over the place. So we try to get them to branch out and just train with whoever they feel like they're going to fit in the best with. Right?
So they come in monthly. Is it unlimited use? Is it certain set times?
So we have 3 different membership options. So we have just grappling, which is jiu-jitsu and wrestling. We have striking, which is predominantly Muay Thai, and we have our martial artist membership. So you can come in and do any of the classes. Each of the memberships are unlimited, so you can come to any class you want, anytime. Something that we're doing is a 2-day pass, so you can come in and try out any class on any 2 days, and it kind of gives you a lot of people train 2 days a week, and so it gives them the ability to kind of see what classes fit into their schedule, check out the instructor, check out the people that are in the class, and that's really what we want. The more inviting or the more welcome that people feel, the more inclined they are to come back and have their friends come with them, their family, and that's really what we want. We want to spread
inclusive, right?
Exactly, with the people that want to be there, as opposed to trying to bring in people that not are kind of there because they're paying.
Right. Yeah, you don't want that feeling.
Exactly.
So if you do end up going in and checking out Clever Combat, you might see Coach Tarullo there doing some wrestling. I plan on getting in there. I gotta shave a couple lbs off. My doctor yelled at me yesterday. I'm kind of a little bit. I'm eating bear claws 2 at a time.
I'm coming to that class.
It really is. I think
I love wrestling. I mean, that's how I grew up. So.
Yep. And it's literally I think it's the best workout. Grappling or any martial art really is probably the best workout you could get. There's weights, and I love weights. I weightlifted for a while, but
just physically pushing another
shape
person.
You're in. It puts you into a different type of physical fitness.
So when people come in, maybe speak a little bit on that process of exercising, right? Pushing somebody, weight, interweight movement with people, the stress on your body with that versus the typical like, hey, I'm just gonna push out some reps and get out of here.
Definitely. So that's a big question a lot of people always ask is, what's the difference? What am I going to get out of this as opposed to just going to the gym and lifting weights on my own? And there are tons of great weightlifting programs. I lifted weights, like I said, for many years. I fell in love with weightlifting. But
thanks, Coach Tarullo.
Yes. Thanks, Coach Tarullo. Honestly, Coach Tarullo and Coach Stein. Coach Stein is phenomenal. Yeah. A lot of morning workouts over the summer. They really pushed that, ingrained that into me, and that's something we're working on with the club, with the kids. But anyway, back to that question. So the weightlifting is very specific, right? So if I'm doing a bench press, my hands are pushing the weight just like this in a straight motion. And you'll see if you put the weight up a little bit or down a little bit, the way you're going to do that workout is significantly different. Yep. Or if you just put one hand slightly off the normal line that you're going to be following, everything changes because the angle that you're pushing, the way, the pressure, everything on the joints. And so that's really wrestling and jiu-jitsu. We've been talking a lot lately about it's really joint manipulation. Yep. If someone's really strong here, so if I can pull their elbow like this,
maybe they're not as strong.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's this is like functional weightlifting almost. Mm-hmm. Like you're going to be able to pick someone up and the weight is going to be out here or at different angles, and you have to be able to kind of adjust where you're putting effort or where you're putting pressure. And so you're literally using every single part of your body, including your brain. And so it's
body chess is what we call it.
Body chess. Yes, chess. And that's a lot of people relate grappling to chess, especially jiu-jitsu. And so you're constantly having pressure at different angles, and so you're working even the tiny little muscle or the tiny little joints that normally don't get worked, or the fascia is going to stretch in a different angle, and so you're getting an overall complete workout as opposed to just lifting a weight in one
direction.
Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. So I want Phil just talk one thing about what else you do on your website, which I think is pretty cool, to help offset costs of business and insurance, because there's always those overhead costs. What else do you sell on your website?
So we sell kind of a bunch. We have our apparel going on our website. This here is one of them. El Shaddai is fighting this weekend, April 5th at Cage War 65.
We'll be there. Let's go. Here we do.
That's right. Here's his fight shirt.
I'll be wearing my shirt right here.
I will make sure to bring in more for you guys as well. I'm sorry. I brought in.
You need to order more material.
He only brought in this size. Listen, I'm losing weight. Oh, he's going to be a 2X soon.
That's right. So that is, since it works your whole body, it is a different workout. And so your metabolism is different while you're working out and even after you work out. And so it really does change people's bodies as they go through the program. And we've had a whole bunch of people come in and just working out 2 days a week over the course of 2-3 months, they've become new people, really. Yeah. And it's really amazing to see. And that's something that we push a lot. So what we sell is our apparel, obviously our memberships to the gym, and we sell carnivorous plants as well. So
that's pretty cool.
When Bill and I got together, I was big into plants. My mom always had a garden. I loved it. And Bill was collecting thousands of all of the different types of carnivorous plants from all over the world. And we ended up building 2 greenhouses and incorporating it into the gym itself. So actually, the carnivorous plants have been a big help, not just bringing in a different demographic of people that normally wouldn't do martial arts, but also just bringing in a different field of money, really.
So, I mean, men to women in your gym, do you have a lot of people, a lot of women and men athletes coming in at the same time? What's that look like for you guys? Because I know, obviously, women's wrestling is off the charts right now, right? There's a ton of women's wrestlers that are just getting tons of exposure. Same things with, women's basketball. So are you guys seeing a little bit more influx of women athletes that want to join your program?
Definitely. So the women training is a big thing. People think that it's really like grappling, fighting is a male sport, but like you said, women's sports are taking off, especially with wrestling. So we've had a lot of interest. We have a select portion of females that train with us, and they are very knowledgeable, very experienced. And so what we're doing is we're kind of guiding who comes in with these experienced women before we integrate them into the full class.
Gotcha.
And that way they get a good understanding. So
sure.
Same thing.
You don't want an amateur wrestling with someone that's 12 years in that doesn't know they're an amateur.
Exactly.
Right? Because that wouldn't be really good for the amateur, because they just get crushed and be like, I don't want to do this. Right? Yep. This isn't fun for me.
So with gi jiu-jitsu, it was a little different. So you could see who was experienced, who wasn't experienced with the belt and all of that stuff, the belt rank. Now a lot of the sport, especially with wrestling, has turned into no-gi, with just wrestling attire.
Yeah, just attire.
So you really can't tell who's experienced and who's not. And so that's something we're trying to facilitate and keep people, get people to a certain level before we integrate them into the full class. And that's really what we do with everybody. We want to make sure that everyone is fluent with what they're doing before we just put them out there to go with anybody.
Just throwing them to the wolves, right?
And the same thing with our fighters. So we've had a bunch of people that come in like, I can fight. I'm ready to fight.
Right, yeah,
and
kapow.
Yeah,
I'm not ready to fight.
We don't want to there are some places that that's fine, go out and fight, because it's just amateur and there's set rules to protect amateurs. But we once you start that competition, we want to keep that ball rolling, right? So we get people to a certain level, and then once we know they're competent, they know the ins and outs of certain areas, certain positions, they have a game set, then they can start exploring and going deeper into the sport, competition, whatever it might be. And it's the same thing with the women, same thing with the kids.
It's safer too. It's safer.
Exactly.
Safer.
It's much safer. Yeah.
So, Phil, as people are watching this, what's the best way to get a hold of you guys? Email, phone number, website? What's your preference?
So email is the best. It goes right to my phone. I can respond anytime.
What's your email?
Contact@clevercombat.com.
So contact@clevercombat.com. .com.
That's
Perfect. Easiest way.
Um,
But then you have Facebook and Instagram.
We have our social media, same thing. Social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It's all just Clever Combat, all one word. The best way to find all of our information is www.clevercombat.com. Like we talked about, we have our new wrestling program and we do actually have a few women wrestling with us, and that's something we're going to try to build over time.
Awesome.
We have a few women wrestling coaches. Speaking of our wrestling program, that is pretty much everybody is volunteering doing that. And we have 6 consistent coaches with many other coaches that are volunteering when they're available.
Sure.
So all of that is volunteer. We're doing it all on our own time to help facilitate a spot for all of these kids to train and better their lives. And so if you're looking for somewhere to either train, get your kid into, or just help out in general, the website is a great starting spot. We have our fundraising opportunities on there. Everybody can see where the money is going to. You can choose a specific kid that is training with us to donate your money to, or we have different options toward just.
You did like a mini NIL, man. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. Hey man, Ella's been teaching me a lot. So we talked about kind of bringing fighters in and showing them certain ways, and Elle has helped me in certain ways, kind of like open my voice. I've always been a quiet, pulled back person, and he is definitely not. But he knows how to express himself. He knows how to get recognition and kind of sell himself without really selling himself. And that's what I've never wanted to be a salesman. I've never wanted to say, "Hey guys, this is my gym. Come pay me for it." And
we sell ourselves every day, Phil.
Exactly. And so that's what he has taught me a lot of that about, like, selling yourself, but not being a salesman. Saying like,
right.
Trying.
You have to do a certain thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to show people who you are and invite people in. And he's so good at that.
We greatly appreciate you coming in today, Phil. Obviously, if you're one of our listeners and you're interested in starting some combat sports, they have a beginner program. Check them out online. Obviously, we are here to educate and motivate our young financial professionals and athletes to get on the right path, and I think it's important. You always can find us at 43 British American Boulevard, Latham, New York, 12110. You can call us at 844-444-YTYM. Matt Byers is ready to pick up the phone. If you have any questions about some of the body positions we talked about, like a Merkel or a wrong leg in, feel free to send those questions. I will demonstrate. Mark will be my dummy, and I'll demonstrate on him. Thank
goodness for duct tape.
Duct tape, right? And as always, it's your coach
And your money.